Hello everyone and welcome to my TEN Talk. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Tim Lintner for organizing these talks and bringing us together in this time when we're still remaining distance from one another. My name is Kelsey Ihinger. I'm an instructor of Spanish at USC Aiken in the Department of Languages, Literatures, and Cultures. Today I'm going to be talking about creating community in an online classroom. This past fall and this spring semester, I'm teaching a fully online schedule for the first time. And I wanted to share some strategies that I found to help create community for our students in this new online format. I should mention at the beginning of this video that I do teach with a synchronous component for my students. I teach introductory Spanish classes, but I'm hoping that some of these strategies will be useful for those who are teaching either now or plan to teach in the future with an online class that either includes or doesn't include a synchronous component. So the objectives in creating a community for our students in an online classroom are setting students up for success. Another thing that we want to think about in creating a community for our students is retaining students through the semester. Retention is obviously something that's important in every kind of class that we teach, but community online is especially important to help us retain students for an entire semester and to help them succeed when we're teaching online. So we know that attrition rates in online classes are somewhere between 10 to 20% higher than in face-to-face classes. We also know, as this quote from Dr. Ann Reed states, that faculty members who are at the front line of the retention issue can help improve student success by providing a sense of community in the online classroom and by making meaningful interaction and student engagement a priority. This is something that I've tried to work on in the last semester and something that I will obviously continue to work on in any class that I teach online. So in this video, I'm just going to share a few of the strategies that I've employed that I hope will be helpful in creating a community for all of us as we teach online. So the first strategy to help our students create community or feel a sense of community in their online classes that I want to share with everybody and encourage everybody to use is get personal. Now, obviously, we want to maintain some distance with our students, but I do want to encourage everybody to share personal information or anecdotes with their students as a way to connect with the students. I think that this can be a very powerful way to help students feel engaged with their classes and their professors really from the very beginning of the semester. So the examples that I'm going to show here are examples that I use with my students on the very first day of class. But I think we can sprinkle in some personal information for our students really at any point throughout the semester in order to help them feel more connected to us as their instructors. So as I've said, I teach Spanish, so you'll see a little bit of Spanish in the examples that I'm providing. But on the first day of class, I like to share with my students some information about myself. ¿Quién soy yo? I not only, of course, tell them my name and the ways that they might address me over the course of the semester, but I tell them a little bit about where I'm from, where I've lived, and some things that I like to do with my free time. I also encourage students to share with me about things that they like to do in their free time in a welcome survey that I give them at the beginning of the semester. This is just a way for them to feel like they're getting to know me early on and hopefully feel like they can connect a little bit better with the class for that reason. Another thing that I share with my students in an online classroom is my dog. I think we all at this point have seen various pets when it comes to online classes or Zoom meetings. This is my dog, Louie. He doesn't show up in my video in online classes, but I warn my students from the beginning, Louie might be an auditory distraction at times. He does bark sometimes. So this is kind of a way for me to just, have a little fun with my students while also letting them know that, at times they might hear a dog in the background. So Louie does come up throughout the semester. I try to use him in examples with students as well. So it's just kind of a fun way for me to connect with students from the beginning while also letting them know about something that they might hear in the background as I have classes with them throughout the semester. The second strategy that I use to create a community for my students is using a poll to ask student opinions about something related to the course or topic of discussion for the day. This really shows students that I value their opinions and that their opinions matter, and also that they can share them with their classmates, right? So the way that I do this again on the first day of class is in a couple of different strategies. So the first thing that I do And I do teach with Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, but you can do similar things with really any other teaching platform or kind of a video platform. But in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, what I do on the first day is ask them to write in the chat using an emoji, how are you feeling about taking a class online this semester? So I have on the right-hand side here, perhaps a list of emojis that might come up when students respond to this. Some might be nervous, some might be excited, some might just be a little bit uncertain about what's to come. And I use the responses kind of as a way to connect with them and say, for those of you who are nervous, make sure that you just know that that's normal. And I then jump into a discussion of, these are some things you can do to feel less nervous or ways that I will support you throughout the semester. So I use this response from students in order to really engage them and hopefully dissuade some of their nerves and worries kind of about what's to come. Okay. So I also, on the very first day, use this raise your hand function in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra when I ask students, how many of you have taken a fully online class before? Again, this is a way for students to kind of gauge what their experience is related to one another, perhaps help each other out, or again, for me to respond and say, if none of you have if some of you have never done an online class before, these are some ways that I will help you to prepare for the semester or support you as the semester goes along. This also I like to use at the beginning of the semester or the very first class because I use it as a way to make sure that students know how to use this specific raise your hand function in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. So it's a way to kind of start to get used to the technology while also kind of connecting to their other classmates. Later on in the semester, I have used this website called directpoll.com. This is a website that allows for more involved polls. So as a professor, you write the question that you want your students to answer and the options or the answers that they can choose from. Then what you do is you share a link with students, and live or real time, you can have students respond to the question that you've posed to them. These might be questions that are related to a reading or a question that you're discussing for the day, just getting initial opinions on that question. But I've also used it just to gauge kind of how students are feeling about a certain topic. It's nice for them to see and to be able to respond anonymously and to a question and to see kind of how they are responding in relation to their other classmates. It usually helps them to see that there are others who are in the same boat as them as well. I don't have an example of what an actual poll looks like. Direct Poll does delete your polls after, I think, 7 to 14 days or something like that. So they don't last forever. But it is a fun way for students in real time to see how their classmates are feeling and how they are responding to the same question that I posed to them. The third strategy that I use to create community in an online classroom is to start class with a quick discussion question that students will respond to in small groups or pairs. I like to get students talking to each other as soon as I can when we come together in a class. So when we have live classes, I like to start class with a quick discussion. It's not something that takes very long, but it does help them to meet their fellow classmates. And I do this every day so that students will meet a new classmate as often as possible. These are some of the questions that I've used in one of the classes that I taught at a different university. This is a literature course on humanities or Western humanities. The questions aren't meant to be really difficult for students. They're meant as kind of a check-in to make sure that they've done the homework and let students know that they're responsible for doing their homework every day. But also as a chance to just kind of connect with their students in a low stakes way. So this is something that I like to do. And then I do, throughout the 50 minutes that we have together, make sure that students are going into groups and discussing with small groups as much as possible, checking in with those small groups as they work. The last strategy that I have for everybody today is thinking about creating community outside of the classroom. This is especially something that we can do if we're teaching a class that has no synchronous component, but I think it's also very important for us to do when we're teaching synchronously. And the idea is that we're creating spaces for students to interact with one another, even when they're not in class together. So these are opportunities to interact outside of synchronous classes or even outside of your kind of typical online content, either homework or activities. One way that I really enjoy doing this is with Flipgrid. Using platforms like Flipgrid allows us to really encourage student-to-student interaction. Flipgrid is a platform where we as professors can record a video asking a question to our students. As you can see in this slide, I tend to get a little creative with the videos or the questions that I ask them. I like to use props when I can. But then students will respond with their own video recording to the question that you've posed. And one really great way to encourage then student-to-student interaction after they've responded to our questions is to have them respond to another student's answer. I find that students really enjoy interacting with one another in this way. They get to watch other classmates' videos and add to them, maybe respond to a topic that one of their classmates has already talked about. So this is a really great way to get them talking to each other outside of either synchronous classes or your online content on Blackboard or any other learning platform. One other thing that I do that is really easy but encourages student-to-student interaction outside of the classroom or the synchronous class is to create an online study room. Study groups are so important for students who are on campus and can meet with each other in person, but I also want my students to know that there are places for them and they should be thinking about meeting when we're not in class together. So on Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, it's really easy to create a study room for students that's always open. And I tell my students about this from the very beginning, encouraging them to meet with each other, to prepare for exams, to think about how to work together outside of class. So this is just a summary of the 4 strategies that I've talked about. I hope that they will be useful for everybody as they're thinking about flexibility in online courses if we ever have to move to online again, if you're not teaching online right now. For those of us who are preparing for online classes currently, and for those of us who might teach online in the future. Here are some links to to other resources if you're looking for something to read on this topic. I do want to thank Dr. Gloria Washington at the Center for Teaching Excellence at U of SC in Columbia, who introduced me to a lot of these ideas and these articles in her course, Getting Started Teaching Online. So I wish everybody good luck with their upcoming semester, and I hope these strategies will be useful. Adios.